In this lesson, we are looking at subject searching in chemical abstracts on STN. Chemical substance searching, which is quite different, will be in another lesson. I want to start with showing truncation and wildcards and the power that this feature offers and the different options that you have. Just looking at the word assay by itself, notice I am searching in the high cost file. This is where you pay a fairly high cost to be connected, but you do not pay anything for each search statement. I am working very fast here, so for this particular series of searches on this screen, this is the most economical way. Notice how many you get searching just the word assay. If I search assay with looking at only the word itself or one word after it, another word, assay or assays, notice how many more I get. If I put assay with the question mark to give me any number of characters after the word assay, I get even more. And I get the most by putting the wildcard at the beginning and end of the word, which will get me the word assay wherever it is embedded in any other kind of word. This will give you different options to help you select what kind of wildcard you want to use. What I'm showing you here is a feature that exists in chemical abstracts on STN, but you do not have this feature in SciFinder. First, notice I am doing this in what's called the learning file. This is an inexpensive file where you pay just a flat rate to use it, and you can do anything you want here. It is a good file for just learning how to search and putting some demonstration searches in before you search the more expensive full chemical abstracts file. This file is only about 1% the size of the full file, but it gives you a good idea of what's there. When you do an expand on any term, you enter what's called the dictionary file. The technical word for it is the inverted file. It shows every word in alphabetical order in the database. By doing this, you could decide what kind of wildcard you want to use. Do you want to use Spectra just by itself, or do you want to take all these different variations of it? By expanding on oil and then on assay, it will help you decide, do you just want to take oil with the pound sign just to give you oil or oils, or do you want to take this word oil with these various endings? The same thing with the word assay. Do you want to take assay or assays, or do you want to take all the words that begin with those letters? Since you can put the wildcard at the beginning of the word, you can also expand to see variations at the beginning of the word. In any kind of expand, if the term that you put in is correct, it is always the third one down, and you will always see 2 up in the alphabet and 10 down, whether it's an expand left or just a normal expand. When you get to the end of the 10 that it's displaying, if you want to display more, you just have to type the letter E. You can do that as many times as you want. Notice there are misspellings here. You see the word bi-assay. Toward the bottom at E23, you see radio immunoassay O. The words that are here are taken directly from the author's title and abstract. They are not put through a word processor. There are misspellings. And as we'll see in the next PowerPoint, sometimes you want to actually enter misspellings of common words. Here I did an expand left on the word analysis, and you can see the word above it is another misspelling. I am in the learning file here, the small file, but it gives me a good idea of what my search strategy will do. I want to search on hydrolysis of proteins. I already did what we looked at in the last lesson. I made sure both hydrolysis and proteins are preferred terms. Even though proteins is the preferred term, I put protein with the pound sign to pick up the singular and the plural. It gives me a little more, just like I did with coal and coals in the previous lesson. I got 60 articles here. Again, in the full file, the number will be much larger. Even though I'm looking for articles on hydrolysis of proteins, this particular article does not answer what I want. Your search terms are highlighted with asterisks around them, and you can see where the word proteins is. You can see where the word hydrolysis is. This article, even though it mentions both of these search terms, is on hydrolysis of lipids. What we are looking at next is how to focus the search and give you more relevant articles. In chemical abstracts on STN, there is a way to relate your search terms, to bring them close to each other where they are related to each other. There is an operator called S. You can think of it as a specific kind of AND. Notice you don't have to put spaces around it. You can just put hydrolysis without a space, open up a parentheses, put the letter S, close the parentheses, and put your second term in. Notice in the first search, using AND, we got 60 results. Here it narrows it down to 25. At the bottom of the screen, I explained what S does. The terms have to be near each other. They have to be in the same index term. They have to be in the same sentence of the abstract. They have to be in the title together or in the same supplementary indexed phrase. When you use S, you are relating the terms to each other, and it makes for much more relevance. Whenever you do any search in STN, you want to start displaying results. And I'm giving you the different display options. Here also, I'm doing this in the learning file. I'm looking for hydrogenation of coal. I've learned from my previous search that S gives you much more precision than using AND. And I know from the previous lesson that hydrogenation and coal are both valid terms. The display option has a certain specific format. You have to type the word display. Your first answer set is called L1. If I did a second search, it would be called L2. But here I want to display L1, which is my first answer set. Next to it, I have to indicate what format of the record I want to display. How much do I want to display? AN just means the abstract number. There are 14 answers here. I am just looking at the third one. It's a little confusing here because 3 does not mean the first 3, it just means the third one. And this display, just the abstract number, it's really only useful for people who have printed chemical abstracts on their shelf. Nobody else could really make any use of it. They should not be really charging anything for it because people pay a lot of money for the printed chemical abstracts. But just to display the abstract number, if you have the printed chemical abstracts, costs you 67 cents for each record. And it doesn't matter whether it's in chemical abstracts, the HCA, or the ZCA file. It's the same cost. Sometimes you're doing a search, and you just want to see if your search is relevant, and you want to display just some titles of some articles. And that's what I've done here, again, just for the third item. When you display the title, it costs you 92 cents for each title. It doesn't give you the reference, it's just the title of the article. If you want to display the reference, the format is bib. It's the citation to the article. That's $5.65 per each record. This slide just shows you variations of displaying what was on the last slide. The bib, which is just the reference to the article. At the top is what's called the condensed bibliography. For people who are used to reading the printed chemical abstracts, this is a very familiar looking way of looking at a reference. The next one is what's called the indented bibliography. Again, the cost is the same. Instead of the two-letter abbreviations for each field, it spells them out. When you are new to searching chemical abstracts and displaying articles, you may want to display a few articles in this longer format. If you want to display the bibliography and the abstract, notice how much more it costs. This is the same cost of displaying the bibliography and the abstract, but again, this is useful for people who are used to the printed chemical abstracts. This is what it would look like in print. Notice the additional cost if you also want to display the index terms. This particular article has only 2 index terms. Most articles have many more. And you have to decide, do you really want to pay the extra cost for it? Here it might be useful, because by looking at the index terms, we search for hydrogenation, but you get some other ways of looking at similar ways of expressing hydrogenation, which are in the index terms. You see hydroliquefaction, and you see liquefaction. Maybe you want to expand your search using those terms, but you will only see these if you've paid the extra money to display the index terms. This is the same record displayed in the format called I-all, which means indented all, where the 2-letter fields are spelled out. It's a very convenient and very easy way of seeing the record, but if you are printing or displaying a lot of records, note that it takes up more space. Many times you are doing a search and you are getting a lot more than you want to look at. Here are just some basic and simple ways of refining your search. You can limit by publication year. I give examples here. If you just want a certain publication year, you say search PY equal 1994. You pay for that search term and you add it to what you already have. If you want a range of terms, it's also a single search term. If you're familiar with the older literature and you just want beyond a certain date, that's what you can do. If you want to include a certain date and take everything after it, that's what that PY greater than or equal 1993 is. If you are familiar with the newer literature and you just want to see the older literature, you can do what I have here. You can take articles earlier than a certain year. Here I've used 1968. You can also limit your search by document type. If you just want journal articles, if you just want patents, you can add that to your search. A very useful limit here are review articles. If you can get a review article that really focuses on exactly what you want, it can save you weeks of reading. You can also select by language. If you know certain languages, you can just take abstracts that lead you to articles in that language. The next screen will give you more examples. I did this search a few years ago in the full chemical abstracts file. The numbers will probably be much larger now. I did this search just to show you that even though it's a chemistry database, they have a lot of medical literature in it. If they are looking at a disease and there's any aspect of chemistry associated with it, they will include it. I just searched cystic fibrosis. You are paying for 2 separate search terms. In the next search, I am just looking for cystic fibrosis articles published in 1993 or after 1993 and just review articles. Notice I said search L1. I didn't say search cystic fibrosis again. When you reuse a line number, a search number, in other words, search L1, you do not have to pay for it a second time. It is a money saver. So in search number 1, I paid for 2 search terms. In search number 2, I also paid for just 2 search terms because I don't have to search for L1. Another variation which I have at the bottom of the screen, I searched L1, which is everything on cystic fibrosis, and I'm just looking for English language review articles. Once we get into SciFinder or even into searching for substances on STN, we'll see other ways of refining your searches.